Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. Got a lot to talk about on today's program, so I think I'm going to get straight to it. Execution. They are contributors on The Price of Business. Jane Henry, she's a regular on the program. Love what she brings. We miss her here this week, but we're delighted to have Thomson Ivins with us. He's their IT consultant, their lead IT consultant. We're going to talk a little bit about IT implementations at Execution. But before we do that, Thomson, kind of give us an overview to remind the listener what Execution, and by the way, that's XCUTION.com. Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Execution is a change management consulting firm located in Houston, Texas. Our primary markets, actually where we really got to grow the baby up, was here in Houston, so heavy in oil and gas. And we are right now just branching out into the healthcare field. But here at oil and gas, we're actually working on major capital projects, both on the asset development, but also in the IT world.
Very good. Talk a little bit about IT implementation and really why it's so important and a big part of your business model.
Well, I mean, software, IT, it's everywhere. We see it, and I think that's a good thing and it's a bad thing, but IT is where we are. It is the future. It's the now. IT is constantly going on. It is constantly changing. You were talking about upgrades, new systems, new software, and it's just unbelievably how quickly this has grown. But for me, when I look back, and I was just thinking in preparation for this interview, when I graduated from the University of Texas in 1998, I had an email address that I used probably 5 times in 1998 to where we are now, where everything is just done through technology. So it's really remarkable how far we've come just in my career.
Yeah, things are changing rather quickly, and it's extraordinary. And I could come up with so many cliches to describe the situation. It still isn't really adequate because of how rapid the changes are. So as part of your role there at Execution, you help companies eliminate a lot of the problems with too many different software programs, overlapping programs. Kind of explain exactly your role and really how those issues undermine the success of a business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can give a perfect example. So when we come in and we say we're managed consulting and change management, my background is in straight software implementation. In the past, I had worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, their management consulting team, and I'd also worked in the applicant tracking HRIS world. And I'm just telling a little background as far as how we would go about implementations to how Execution goes about implementations, which I'm definitely a fan of the Execution side. But in the old software vendor world, you're really worried about, let's just get our system in there, let's stay within scope, let's get it up, get it on time, give them what they paid for, and, more or less you do, and you get it out there. But you're not really thinking about what's the impact of the software that they're buying, what's the impact to their people, what's the impact to where this company wants to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because when you're on just the software side, that's all you're really thinking about is let's get our stuff in there, let's get our software up and running, let's get them into the service contract, and let's get moving. Mm-hmm. From Execution standpoint, we are actually in an ideal world, and luckily we've been there a lot. You're there early in the game. So you're right when somebody says, we've got a problem, and we need some software, and we're not really sure what the software is going to do, but we think, somebody might have some experience maybe with a certain ERP vendor, and they're like, that'll solve all our problems. At Execution, we like to say, can we just step back for a second? And we like to actually put them into just how is your business supposed to look 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And we like to take them through those processes. So, for example, in an ERP world, how is your order to cash supposed to work 10 years from now? How is your employment life cycle from applicant tracking to onboarding towards, all the way through succession planning? How is that supposed to work? And when we do those efforts, it is critical that we actually have leadership support and some of the subject matter experts in those departments, HR, in finance, in accounting, in operations, supply chain, as part of those discussions shaping that future state of where the company's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And from there, once you set up the way this company should be operating, we like to back it up. so we can actually understand how the software is going to help you make decisions, how that software needs to be implemented. And all of that really should come, in my opinion and execution's opinion, first to define the future state of how the company should be working.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. And it's an interesting thing seeing your role, in a company like Execution, which is in really eliminating the problem of politics in the office space. And there's even politics around software, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, I'm just thinking of something recently, but absolutely. So who's driving the software selection? ERPs you could talk to anybody on the street who's done an ERP, and they'll probably have a pretty good horror story for you, somewhere tied in there. But, and the politics comes into, in other words, who is the project sponsor, and what are they trying to get out of it? And so a lot of that comes into a strong selection and a team agreed upon selection of who the project sponsor is. Because if you get somebody, let's just say, for example, HR driving a project that is going to impact the finance and accounting team, well, if that HR person is working in a silo, then they are going to make all of the decisions that benefit their department, with the most benefit. They're not going to be thinking about, well, what's my impact to finance? Well, what's my impact on operations if I do this? They really are working in a silo. So a project sponsor is absolutely critical to the success, and it has to be somebody. I mean, we could get into the selection of who that project sponsor is, but it's got to be somebody who can manage down, but also manage up and work cross-functionally across the departments.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. Great topic. Thanks so much for being with us. You want to remind the listener they can learn more about the great work of Execution at execution.com. And Thomson Ivins, thanks so much.
Kevin, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time with me today.
You bet. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. And this is The Price of Business.